it's good to just get outside ideas and then kind of sort through them of, what to do and what not to do. I've found Amazon to be challenging working with, and so haven't put a ton of effort into it. But back then, I think I did $20,000 in a year on Amazon, and last year I think I probably sold 5,000 to 7,000 on Amazon.
I would like to hear more about you. You said you're a professor at a university. How long have you been teaching, and what were you doing before jumping into this entrepreneurship side hustle, if I may say, and what made you want to do that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good questions. So it's a little bit tough because I started, like I said, like 20 years ago. So I've been doing the online entrepreneurship business stuff for quite a while. So some of the startup stuff, I'm like having to remember back to what that was like. I've been a full-time professor since 2017, so it's more recent. So I was in grad school actually when I started Pro Style Sports. Grew up, I was a huge baseball fan. Loved playing baseball, loved watching baseball, collecting baseball cards. It was just something that I loved. And anyway, when I was in college, one of my friends, he was a trainer on the baseball team. So he basically would be out at the baseball practices if somebody got hurt, and his job was to go out there and tape them up or ice them or whatever. And so he had a lot of hours at the baseball field. And so he actually, just a lot of time on his hands, took balls apart and made this wallet out of them. And one of my other friends and I saw this wallet that our other friend had made. And we're like, that's the coolest thing. It's super homemade, but we just thought it was super cool as baseball fans. So fast forward probably, I don't know, maybe like 5 years. My other friend and I, he was living in Boston at the time. I was in Nashville. I was in grad school. And we're just like, hey, like those baseball wallets, those are so cool. We should try and make some and sell them. So originally I was going to partner with my college friend. And so I was like, all right, look, I'll make some designs and you make some designs. Then like in a week, let's just kind of compare what we've got. So I started out, and the first designs I made, it was funny. I would actually walk by, I was at Vanderbilt for grad school, and I'd walk by the baseball field and I'd go collect foul balls because I didn't have a lot of money. So cost of goods sold zero at this point. So go, pick up some foul balls, took them apart, and then basically took the leather from the baseball and traced it onto paper, because paper was a lot easier to work with for my first prototypes than actually working with leather. So just cut out little pieces of, baseball from paper, and we just taped them together and tried different designs. Tried this design and tried that design. And found one that I'm like, hey, of my designs, this is the one I like the most. So reached out to my friend that I was going to work with, and he hadn't done anything in the week. I'm like, well, hey, here's my design. He's like, okay, I like that. And I was like, well, okay, And so then, all right. So then the next step was, I don't remember, like we had a next step. And so, just trying to move forward. And I didn't really know what I was doing. It's kind of just sort of figuring things out as I went. And a lot of it was just, okay, then I can see the next step. I don't know beyond that, but I know the next step is I need to have a design, and then once I have a design, okay, maybe the next step is let me try and actually make one of these. And so anyway, long story short, my friend, great friend of mine, just had a lot on his plate. He didn't really have any follow through to actually do anything. So I realized if I was going to do this, I was going to have to do it on my own, just because he wasn't in a place where he could actually really contribute anything meaningful. So just kind of took it one step at a time, then took a bunch of balls apart and stitched them back together into the design that I like. And what I found was and I can show you if you want, I've got all my original prototypes here, but my first prototype in my head, I'm like, oh, it's going to be like this. And I actually made it. And I'm like, it looks different from what I imagined. And that was actually a really good thing. Some of the things I thought were going to work well didn't, but it was a starting point. And so I ended up making probably 4 different actual leather prototypes, and each one I would make some changes and then redesign it again. One of the things that was really helpful for me was I would talk to a lot of my friends about, like, hey, I'm doing this, and I would talk to them about it. And then the next time I would see them, they would ask me, hey, how are your baseballs going? How's your business going? And that gave me some level of accountability of like, I want to make sure that the next time I see them, I have some progress to tell them. I know, because it's easy, especially as an entrepreneur, where there's no deadlines, there's no external deadlines, no one's pushing me. It's just me to just let it sit on the back burner, because there's always the urgent of life, and just having friends in the process to sort of hold me accountable. I mean, not really, they just ask, hey, how's it going? I wanted to be able to tell them progress and tell them what I had done. And so that was really helpful. And then they would celebrate with me. Hey, like, I've done this, let me show you what I've done. And then getting feedback from people is super helpful too, and everybody has suggestions and ideas, and some of them are good and some of them are terrible. But it's good to just get outside ideas and then kind of sort through them of, what to do and what not to do. So anyway, I ended up working with, like I said, I was in grad school at the time. One of my friends, her husband was a professor in the MBA program. And so I talked to him and he's like, oh, this would be a great project for some of our MBA students that are in entrepreneurship. So was able to partner with the professor that taught entrepreneurship and had, I think, 3 or 4 MBA students that spent a semester working with me. It was kind of their semester project. And so one of them was on the manufacturing side, a couple of them were on the marketing side. And again, I didn't know anything about what I was doing. I'm just, taking one step at a time. And so the guy that was on the manufacturing side, I didn't know anything about manufacturing. I didn't know how to mass produce stuff. I had no idea. My parents are both teachers. This is totally out of my expertise. But he was able to kind of give me some directions and suggestions. And one of his ideas was to simplify the design. He said, if we simplify this and streamline, it's going to make it easier to manufacture. And I was initially hesitant, because it's like I had a design, I liked this. And then once I tried his suggestion, it was actually better than mine. I wouldn't have known it unless I'd actually, again, made another prototype and saw it and saw that this is actually better than what I was thinking. And sometimes it's hard to take feedback from people, but when I did, sometimes it turned out really good. Had some marketing people that went out and took one of my just prototypes that I'd made to some Little League baseball fields and asked parents, hey, what would you pay for this? Would you buy this? Do you like this? What would you be willing to pay for it? And one thing that I found too with some of that is the responses we got were so varied. Some people are like, I'd pay $10. Some people are like, I'd pay $50. And I realized too, a lot of people are just nice. Like they want to encourage you. Oh yeah, that's great. Would you buy one? Sure, I'd buy one. Okay, do you want to buy this one? Oh, actually, no, I don't want to buy it. It's like sometimes they'll say stuff just to encourage you or to make friends. But I realized at a certain point, the only way I was going to know if it was a viable business or not was to just make some, put them up for sale and see people bought them. And so then that introduced a whole bunch of other challenges, like how do I even manufacture these? And it was interesting because one of my friends who I talked to about making baseball, she called me up. She was listening to NPR and they had an interview with somebody that wrote this book about baseball, and they were talking about where the leather comes from for actual Major League Baseballs. And so she's like, hey, I just found out that they make the baseball leather and this tannery in this place. And I was like, cool. So then I reach out to that tannery and find out that I can buy leather from them, and so it was cool that as I involved friends in the process, they were able to support me and help me out. Hey, I heard about this and I was thinking about you. So anyway, and this was like everything being available on the internet for manufacturing. So I went over to the library. I was looking up the Thomas catalog. There's this huge series of books. I think there are probably like 12 or 15 editions or something. They're each fat. And so anyway, they have manufacturers in there, domestic manufacturers. So I look up wallets. And I call somebody on there. I'm like, hey, I'm looking to make these custom wallets. I kind of describe for them. Do you guys do any custom contracting? No, we don't, but call this other guy. So I call the other guy. Hey, so-and-so from so-and-so referred me to you. Oh yeah, how's he doing? Oh, he's doing great. I've never met the guy, but what do you need? Oh yeah, I'm trying to do this and this. Oh, you need someone to do it. You need a clicker die. Yeah, I talked to this person. I'm like, I need a clicker die. I don't even know what a clicker die is, but I call up the next day. Hey, do you guys do you have any clicker dies? And so just started following leads. I'm just, reaching out. I'm learning. I'm learning from the pros that are doing this. Oh yeah, well, you probably need this and this, and send me a picture. So I email them a picture of what I'm trying to do. Oh yeah, well, you can't, and so just like, what's the next step? Let me talk to somebody that knows more than I do. And then it was crazy. Like I was with one of my friends who, I talked to my friends, and he's like, hey, I've got a buddy who's over here from India. He's doing an MBA out in Boston. He's here in Nashville at the time. You guys should meet. So I meet this guy, and he has a connection to a manufacturer over in India that makes leather goods. And I've been looking on Alibaba trying to find manufacturer to work with. And what I typically would find was that people are like, oh yeah, we can do this, no problem. And then I'd send them some samples and then, oh yeah, no, we can't do this. And they just disappear. And just found that, you can find, now 1,000 manufacturers in 10 minutes, but it's like, who do you work with? Who do you trust? Like, who's going to do good work for you? Because the manufacturers, what I found, especially overseas, they will say whatever they need to say to get your business. And there's no guarantee they're going to do a good job. There's no guarantee they're even going to be able to do the job at all, but they're trying to get business. So this guy that was a friend of a friend, he had a connection to a manufacturer back in India that was already doing wallets. And so one of the things that I like to do is I like to know the people I'm working with. And so I actually got a plane ticket. My college roommate was from India as well. So went and saw him and then went and met with the manufacturers. I'm like, I want to know who I'm working with. And it sped things up a lot too, because sending a sample over there, they send a sample back to me. I get it, hey, let's make these changes. It's slow. And so I was able to go over there and look at material with them, pick stuff out with them, have them make samples right there for me on the spot. It sped everything up, but also I had a relationship with who I was working with, and that was super helpful. And to me, like, that's one of the most important things of business is if I work with people that I trust and that are good people, and I've worked with that same manufacturer for the entire time that I've been doing this. So I went over a second time to meet with him, and but it's nice though, because it feels like doing business with someone that's a friend rather than just, a name and an email online. I don't know that everybody needs to do that, but I like to do that. I like to, one thing that I found too, is that by actually going over and meeting him, and I work with different manufacturers too, but seeing what they do and seeing what machines they have and seeing other products that they're making gives me ideas of what's possible. Because again, I don't know anything about manufacturing, so I'm trying to make this thing. But then seeing, oh, you guys can do this and this and this. Oh, okay, well, let's do this. Let's try that. And so that's something that I like to do. I like to see how stuff made, what other equipment do you guys have? What other products are you making? And then I kind of have some sense of some other capabilities as well. So anyway, ordered 1,000 wallets, which for me was a big thing. I spent.
What year was that?
That was in about 2005.
2005. Okay, so that was your first production order.
Yeah, that was my first production order, and it probably took me about 2 to 3 years between the time I had an idea to actually placing an order and getting some inventory. And again, I was doing this part time, and I'm creating something that's new, right? So that made it more difficult as well, and trying to find a way to custom manufacture something that's a novel product.
Did you have so you had no competitors back then? You were the only person who's making such similar like sport wallets or
yeah, Rawlings sells a baseball wallet now. I don't remember if they were selling back then or not. But I definitely didn't have anyone selling anything that was really similar to me. If you look now, you'll find more products that are more similar to what I'm doing. But back then there wasn't much, if any.
Were you selling before that when you were doing the wallets at home or on campus? Were you getting sales at that time as a proof of concept?
Before my first order?
Before your production run.
Oh, well, I didn't have any inventory. I mean, I had a handful of ones that I'd made by hand, but
you weren't selling them.
No. I mean, it took me, gosh, I think I spent like 40 hours making one, like the first one.
Got it. So you're just coming up with the concept. You're doing the research yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm basically innovating a new product and then trying to, sort of go through this design process of, making something and then getting some feedback and then making a new product, making a new prototype, and really trying to sort of hone my design until I have something that I like.
Did it cost you money, or you're just doing it in your free time? And
just in my free time.
Okay.
So my upfront costs honing my prototype and my design were pretty minimal. I mean, I think I a couple times went to like a local leather company, probably like a shoe manufacturer, and had them stitch a wallet together for me. Paid them $25. But yeah, my initial costs are pretty low. It was really when I made that first order of inventory. And to me, 1,000 wallets was, because, if you buy 100 of them, so I think I paid at that point maybe $6 a wallet. And my cost has probably doubled since then. Leather's gotten more expensive, labor's gotten more expensive. But anyway, the first round was about $6 a wallet. But the thing was there were a lot of startup costs that were the same whether I made 100 wallets or 1,000 wallets. So 1,000 to me seemed like enough that I would have a sense of whether this was actually a viable idea or not. But it wasn't so many that if it didn't sell, I was going to go bankrupt. I mean, I probably spent about $10,000 total getting the company started. I spent probably $2,000 on a cutting die, like this custom die to actually like make for production. It's basically like a cookie cutter that you stamp out the leather and it gives you the pieces you need.
Was that part of the production run, the production cost?
That was separate. That was separate.
So you had to buy it or build it.
Yeah, I bought it
one time.
Yeah, and again, there's some things that I found that are worth paying the pros to do, and that was one of those things. Like, I got my original cutting die from this company up in Canada, and they were like one of the biggest in the world. Somebody else came, I think my manufacturers in India said, "Oh, we can make one of these for $100 for you." And I'm like, I don't trust the $100 version. This is somewhere where I really want to invest to get something that's really good. And ironically, down the road, I did send my manufacturers my $2,000 cutting die that I've been using for several years. It took them a couple months to destroy it. And so And they're like, hey, your cutting die is broken. I'm like, what do you mean it's broken? Like, this is like a chunk of metal. Like, how is it broken? And they sent it back to me and it was all rusted out. And I don't know. I think they'd use some sort of like corrosive solvents on it to try and clean it or something. They just had destroyed it. So one thing I found too, sometimes people come in, oh yeah, I can do this for super cheap. And I'm like, this is a crucial part of the business. Sometimes doing it really cheap ends up costing a lot more in the long run. So yeah, so bought this $2,000 tool, just a one-time fee. And then had to buy a bunch of leather and then had to get the leather cut and then ship that leather off to India and had them assemble the wallets. Because I was buying, the real baseball leather, which the tanneries here in the States.
And
so,
did you get your logo designed back then?
Yeah, I did. One of my friends, actually, he was a graphic designer and he had started a company doing graphic design work. So I took a sort of idea that I had to him. He used that as sort of a jumping off point, cleaned it up, made it way more professional. And then that was where my logo came from.
Nice. And and did you set up an LLC back then?
At one point I did. In California, I think it's like $750. And initially I didn't set up an LLC.
Okay.
Initially I was like, let me just try and, get to market. I did file for a patent and I have a patent on the baseball wallets.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that because you said you spent $5,000 on a patent. What was that for?
Well, that was because I didn't want someone to steal my idea. And so I thought, well, if I get a patent, that'll protect me. Does it? Kind of, sort of. But I realized that in retrospect was kind of a little bit of a waste. It was a lot of time, a lot of money. And I think, and I've met other sort of entrepreneurs that are like this, that there's sort of this idea that if I get it patented, then that means it's going to sell or that's going to protect me. And I mean, I've looked on Alibaba and I found my exact designs on Alibaba, and they've stolen pictures from my website, and, I can email them. They're in China, I can email them, hey, stop doing this. Are they going to stop? Probably not. Even if they I'm not going to be able to fly to China to find the manufacturers that are ripping me off. So I've just kind of realized that all that time and money I spent getting patents, in retrospect, I probably wouldn't have done it. One thing that I do try and do though with my manufacturing, I mean, again, I work with somebody that I know in India that I trust. But I also set it up in such a way that they can't make 10,000 of them, ship me 1,000 and sell the other 9,000 out the back of the factory. Like I said, I'm shipping pieces to them. So my manufacturing is kind of dispersed, which allows me to kind of protect. So they're not able to just crank out a bunch of extra and, sell them on the black market. It does take more work on my end, but it also protects me as well.
Got it. What does your patent protect?
It's a design patent. So it protects the actual design of the baseball wallet. But from what I understand also, you can make some changes to it and just get around it. Yeah, exactly. And
how much back then did it cost you to ship from India to the US?
So I would have them just the shipping price.
Yeah.
I don't know, a couple $100, maybe $500 for a shipment
from India.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's really affordable for 1,000 units. A few $100.
Yeah. And I ship stuff to India as well. I ship material to India, and that cost me. I just actually send a shipment over there.
Oh wow,
$250 to send a package of material over there, which is probably enough to make, I don't know, maybe 600 wallets or so. Yeah, somewhere in that range. And here's something else that I found was my first shipment. Like I said, I did 1,000 wallets. I shipped a big box of stuff to India, material, and you have to declare the value of it. So I declared the full value. It was several $1,000s of the leather and the cost to cut it and everything. Well, that first shipment got stuck in customs for 6 months. And India Customs is telling me, oh, we need this and we need that, and just kind of gave me the runaround, honestly. And I'm talking to my manufacturer, we're trying to get this out of customs, and it's stuck. And we need this and we need that. And we're like, you should have this. We're sending him stuff. You shouldn't need this. And eventually, after 6 months, if it doesn't clear customs in 6 months, I think they would just basically destroy your package. So we're getting down to the wire, and they're like, oh, well, if you send us this much money, then then we can release this. And so at that point, I don't know, it's probably $500 to $1,000. I'm already in this deep, so I send him the money, and then all of a sudden my package just cleared through customs. Well, what I realized is that I say in India, everyone's an entrepreneur. And by entrepreneur, I mean they're looking for an opportunity to make money off of you, which may or may not be legal. And so what I imagine is somebody in customs, hey, we got this big package that's heavy and expensive and it's worth a lot. Somebody behind this cares about this a lot. Here's an opportunity for us to make some money. So since then, I've started sending much smaller packages. I'll send them, and low value, small packages, send them more often. They just slide right through customs. Big, high value package, somebody over there sees it and it gets stuck. So that's something I learned the hard way. Ironically, too, when I've gone with UPS and FedEx, although I thought I was getting better service, I've had more problems with them than with the Postal Service shipping stuff to India. And again, I don't know if it's because they're considered higher value or what, but I've had more problems with them.
Did you have to get barcodes when you first were getting started for your product to sell?
No, I was just selling on my own website.
You're selling them on your own, I see.
Yeah, so I didn't need barcodes.
But then later, when you start selling on Amazon, you had to get it, right?
Yeah, and I just got them through Amazon. I just do Amazon barcodes.
Oh, you opt out of the what is it, the UPC, or when they ask you for a barcode to give that, you opt out of it?
No, so I don't know if you can still do it, but I went on eBay and you can buy like 50 Amazon ISBN numbers or whatever, or I don't know if that's the right word, but 50 Amazon codes for like, I don't know, $20. And so I just use those.
Got it.
And that saved me a ton of work on that end. I mean, if I were selling in retailers, I would probably need something more official for like a US, for the UPC. But because I'm selling on my website, selling on Amazon, selling on a couple other platforms, what I got from Amazon was enough.
And who'd you pay or hire to do your photos?
That's a good question. A couple of my friends are photographers, and so have hired them out. And probably one of the challenges is because I add products incrementally over time, the photos aren't consistent. If you look, from one picture to another, they're not consistent because they were taken at different times by different people. One of the challenges too is that Amazon wants at least your title picture to have a white background, which isn't really the best for selling, but that's what they want for their website. So like if you look on my website, a lot of the pictures are more lifestyle pictures where it's like, picture of my baseball wallet in a baseball dugout with a glove and a bat behind it. And I think those are much better pictures, but on Amazon, you can't do that. So, and one of the other challenges is that different platforms want different dimensions. Some want square pictures, somewhat rectangular pictures, and so on. So that's a little bit challenging from one platform to the next. But I mean, you can spend a lot of money on pictures. And I mean, if I wanted to do a whole new reshoot of all my products together right now, I could spend well over $1,000. And then I'd still have to edit them down to put white backgrounds and some for Amazon and stuff. So it's not ideal, but I've got, like I said, some friends that are photographers. It's kind of nice to give them some work. And, they usually are easier to work with. And, they'll give me a deal.
That's good. And let's jump into the sales to Amazon. I know you were selling on your website. Maybe you can briefly tell me how you were doing on your website and how the sales started coming through Amazon when you launched on Amazon.
Okay. Yeah. So because I started back in 2005, the internet was less consolidated back then. I mean, now it seems like, there's a handful of websites, Amazon obviously being one of them, that generate most of the online sales. Back then, people bought much more from different websites. And so I was doing really well selling to my own website. What I found is that the sales to my own website have declined over time. The challenge obviously with your own website is driving traffic, getting people to find your website. And then if they do find you, getting them to trust you. And I think the trust comes from if you have a professional website and, it displays professionality, people will trust you. But driving traffic's become increasingly expensive. Like I said, Google AdWords became more and more expensive.
Wow.
Advertised on Facebook for a while. Advertising on Facebook, I was making money. It was profitable. But then over time, it became less and less profitable. What I found was kind of two things. Lower and lower click-through rates, lower conversion rates. I mean, you look at Facebook and there's more and more ads on it. People... and the price per ad was going up as well. So originally Facebook made sense for me and I advertised on them. I don't do that anymore because I was losing money on every sale.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to put all this work into advertising and manufacturing and shipping out products if I'm losing money. I mean, maybe in the long run, you can generate enough customers out there and word of mouth referrals, but I don't know. To me, I'm like, I don't want to put in a ton of work and lose money. I'd rather have less sales, but be profitable smallest sales volume.
Yeah, it makes sense. Social media ads and Google ads have gotten a lot more complex, and they're not as cheap as they used to be. Back in the day, you could just put in a little bit of money and you'll make profit out of it. Now it's gotten a lot more complicated, and you have to be very strategic and know how to target your ads and be very creative with your ads, and it might return profits, it might not. But what about Amazon? So tell me about your launching on Amazon, and how was that? How did that even start for you? And
Yeah, so I launched on Amazon, like I said, in probably 2013, 2014. And I think at that point, like FBA was kind of a newish thing, like originally Amazon was mostly just selling books and CDs. And so private label stuff was pretty new at that point, and one of my friends he was working with somebody and they were selling on Amazon. He saw my wallets. He's like, you got to sell these on Amazon. He's like, these will do great. And I think Amazon's gotten a lot easier to sell on. Back then it was a little more complicated. It wasn't terrible, but it was something I didn't know anything about. He's like, I'll help you out. He's like, I'll help set you up on Amazon in return for a cut of your sales. And so at the time I wasn't selling on Amazon at all. So it felt like free money to me, of like, oh, here's another sales channel that he's going to set up for me. And really, I mean, the product, it's good for Amazon in a lot of ways. It's unique, like I said, I have a patent. No one else is doing the same thing. And so I'm not having to compete on cost, which is really nice. I'm not having to compete with, 50 other people that are selling the exact same thing, trying to bundle it differently or something. It's like my product is unique. And it's something too that you see it and immediately you get it. It's a base. I tell people I sell baseball walls. So what's a baseball wall? Is it round like a baseball? I'm like, no, it's like a wall, but it looks like a baseball. And I show it to them and immediately you get it. It's like, oh, cool, you can see what it is. And so that's really nice for Amazon and, for any sort of online visual platform. But yeah, so initially he set my stuff up, and we're, kind of optimizing stuff, and we were running ads as well on Amazon. And even Amazon ads I found to become increasingly expensive and increasingly competitive, and find that, I mean, probably if you know what you're doing, you can make money on them. But and one of the things that I find is sort of the CEO of this, but this is again a part-time business, is that there are so many different aspects of it. I can't be an expert at all of them. You look at order fulfillment and marketing and keyword optimization and SEO, and it's just there becomes so many different things that it's like to be successful on Amazon ads, you really need to know what you're doing, and really, because here's what I found with online ads. They will spend as much money as you let them. You set a budget, they will meet your budget. Their goal is to make money for themselves, especially with Google. But even with someone like Amazon, it's like they're trying to maximize their profit, not necessarily your profit. So if you're just putting a big budget on something and running ads, you can lose a lot of money real quickly.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of ads. We've been selling products for the last year, and we're barely running any ads on them. Ads are not great if your products are not in high demand. It can be very expensive, and like you said, it can put a hole in your wallet, because they will, whatever you set your budget for, they'll take it. They have no issues charging you thousands of dollars on nothing. And the worst part is with the Amazon ads is that you have to pay per click. So whether the customer buys or not, you're paying money. I mean, it would be nice if they make it like per order, you pay a fee. That would be way better. But they make it per click, and that's very expensive. But tell me about sales though. Like, tell me how was it when you started selling on Amazon?
So actually initially on Amazon, the first couple of years were our best years. And again, there was less competition back then. Like I said, we're back in 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017. There weren't as many private label people selling on Amazon. And so, yes, I mean, I think you saw my sales numbers, but back then I think I did $20,000 in a year on Amazon. And last year, I think I probably sold 5,000 to 7,000 on Amazon. So my sales were better back then. There was less competition. And in fairness, I haven't really been keeping up with the latest trends, in that I haven't put videos on my listings. Actually, I'm not sure if Amazon lets you put videos on them or not. But I mean, I see some of the stuff where they have, like, you sort of sponsor your brand. And I haven't done some of those things. It seems like what happens is the competition keeps rising. You have to keep up with it. And in fairness, I really haven't. And so it's kind of like I've been in some ways sort of left behind behind in the Amazon game because I haven't been keeping up with the competition, because it feels like the bar keeps going up, as far as like staying at the top, keeping up with your competitors or staying ahead of them. It used to be, like I said, that you just put a listing on Amazon and there wasn't that much competition, people find you. And then you could start putting ads, and the ads were worthwhile and people find you. And then, then all of a sudden you need to start finding, and then that didn't work anymore. And you need to find the next thing. You need to have you're building your brand, or having videos on there, or being a feature product, or I'm not even sure like what it looks like anymore. And like I said, I've found Amazon to be challenging working with, and so haven't put a ton of effort into it. But I do recognize like there's a lot of potential if I were to really clean up my listings and and figure out, okay, what do you need to do to be successful on Amazon now? Because I've just kind of let it run, with very minimal effort, but the results have been declining sales.
Yeah, I mean, yes. So I noticed that you made 14 grand in revenue in 2016, which your net profit was about 8,700. And in 2017, you made over 20 grand. It's kind of cool, with net profit of 13,500. Last year, like you said, 7 grand in gross revenue.
Mm-hmm.
And 4,000 in net profit. Hey, that's still pretty cool for like a side hustle that you don't have to work. You're making this money passively in a way, because I don't think you're spending more than 2 hours a week on this, right?
Not on Amazon, no.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think the game with Amazon has changed over the years, and one of the things that I've learned, especially if you don't launch a product that makes you 6 to 7 figures immediately, or not immediately, but in the first couple of years, the name of the game is to launch more products, and to see what people are searching for, and try to find demand for products and kind of grow from there. I just did a podcast yesterday with someone who started around the same time that you did in 2015, and in their first year they jumped right in. I don't know who gave them this idea. I didn't ask him, but in their first year they launched 10 different products. From January to May, they launched 5 different products. They had nothing to do with each other, but they were like in one category. It was like kitchen and kitchen products. And none of those products did great. They did okay. They didn't do great. But then after May, they started launching other products, different products, 5 more products. And one of them ended up like skyrocketing their sales, making them over $2 million in that year alone. So wow. So they stopped like all the other products, focused on that one product that's made them so much money, and then they kept launching other products too, for experimenting, to see if they can make other products make them as much money. And they ended up making like $20-30 million years between 2015 and 2020.
Wow.
And that's the name of the game, like on Amazon now. You're just like, you have to flip. And I get it, like, and this is one thing that I see about a lot of people, and me included. Like, I wanted to, initially when I got into the game, I wanted to start my own brand, and I was really excited, and I really wanted this. But then when I started looking at people that are really successful, they're really good at pivoting. They're really good at pivoting and learning quickly from their mistakes. So they try one thing. If it doesn't work, they try something else. If it doesn't work, they try something else until one thing hits. So you can try 10 things. If one of them hits, then you're good.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like the competition with Amazon, because you're always going to have people trying to compete with you. But the cool thing is that you're always going to have new trends, and you're always going to have new ideas on how to improve products and how to meet market demand. Because especially when it comes to retail or e-commerce, this is one thing that's never going to get old. You're always going to go to the supermarket or to the store, and you're going to find new products, always. There's not going to be a time where like, oh, that's it, we have everything, we're done. Like, no, there's always going to be new trends, new ideas. There's always new diets, or there's always like some new ingredient that people become obsessed with, or some kind of a new sport, or like a new game, or a new idea, or new information, and you just have to learn how to ride those waves kind of thing. And that's kind of ultimately like what I learned with Amazon, and I try to share that with people. We did that in the last year. We launched 5 products, and one of them made us, just this year alone, since January, it's made us over $300,000,
Wow.
which is really impressive. And that's just one product. We launched 5 products, and that's the name of the game, is that you want to find products that are in demand and launch them. And once you get good at that, one of them is going to be your home run.
And the products that you guys are launching, are they just basically pre-existing products that you private label, or are you guys like kind of customizing your products?
No, private label is over. Like 10 years ago, you could do private label and kind of get away with it. Maybe like make the product slightly different, but now Amazon is way too saturated. Playing the private label game, like you have to jump on new products immediately to private label them, but you're gonna get squished out quickly because there's so much competition. We try to find products that are not selling on Amazon that people are searching for. So we try to ride new trends, new information, and we do that using market research tools like Helium 10, which is one of the best market research tools, especially with Amazon. They help you with Google market research as well, but specifically with Amazon, it's one of the greatest market research tools, and you can find out what people are searching for on Amazon in what volume and figure out, hey, this could be a new opportunity, this could be a good opportunity to sell this product on Amazon because people are searching for it and no one is selling it. So you got to ride that wave kind of thing.
That's smart. So you don't even actually necessarily create your product. You may find an existing product that's just not on Amazon and start selling it on Amazon.
Correct. Yeah, you could do that. And you just ride that wave, and you just got to make sure that there is a high search volume for it.
That's smart, because I haven't done that. Usually what I'll do is I'll create products, and what I find is like I kind of design for myself. I'm like, okay, I'm sort of my target market of like, male sports fan. So if I design something that I like, hopefully other male sports fans will like that as well. But there may not be that much demand for it. And that's one of the things that I found. Like I've branched off. Most of the stuff that I do is sort of in the sports realm, but I do some different sports lanyards. Like I do some softball lanyards and basketball lanyards, and I think they're kind of cool. They just haven't sold that much. And the problem is that to get my cost down low enough, I have to order enough volume that, my per unit price is low. But now I have 500 softball lanyards in my bedroom, and they're not selling a whole lot, and I don't really want them, but I just sell through the inventory that I have.
And honestly, when Travis first started, he was using your approach. He was creating new products from scratch. That's what he was teaching everyone to do. That's why he called his program the Passion Product Formula. And basically, it's about creating something that doesn't exist and something that people maybe are not even searching for. But the way to test that, because we are a big fan of market research, and the way to test that is that you put that idea in front of people on social media, because since social media is a thing, it gives you the access to free marketing, and you can put a new idea, idea concept in front of people, and if people really like it, they're willing to fund your product idea. And he's been teaching that method for the longest time, which is still a valid method. That's still one of the strongest things. If you can put a new concept in front of people, I mean, look at Kickstarter. That whole website is based on new ideas, people who are coming up with new ideas, and they need people to fund their idea. And that's where we got the whole idea of Passion Product Formula, is that you come up with an idea, try to put it on social media, create a Kickstarter campaign, see if people will get behind you on that idea. And that's your validation to launching that product, because at that point you've already succeeded before you even started.
So that way you don't buy a bunch of inventory of something people aren't going to buy.
Exactly. You're doing market research ahead of time. And then some of the people that I meet with have done the same thing, but they actually, no, let me say that differently. I've talked to people who've developed new ideas and they've launched their product idea on Amazon, and it ended up doing really well, but they skipped the part of doing like a Kickstarter campaign or posting it on social media, not because they didn't want to, maybe they didn't know that was a valid path for them. they just were in love with their idea, and they're like, oh, if I'm obsessed with this idea, I'm sure all the other people are going to be, which is valid, but
Yeah.
you never know. The market is always going to correct you in terms of what they want, what they don't. And some of these people end up like making a lot of money because of their product idea, and people love it, and they just put it on Amazon, and people are like, they're already on there searching for products, and they see it and they're like, oh, this is great, this is a cool idea, and a ton of other sellers start trying to copy them, so they become the new, they bring the trend. Kind of like what you did, I think, because when I go out on Amazon, I see other sellers trying to sell similar concept of a baseball wallet, and I'm pretty sure they got their idea from you because you were the first seller.
And and that's one of those things, like on one hand it's flattering, on the other hand it's frustrating.
Yeah.
And some of my competitors have sold a lot more than I have too.
Yeah, one thing I noticed, that you're not brand registered on Amazon. Is that correct?
That is correct. I looked into that, and it seems like, I forget what stopped me, but there was somewhere where I kind of got hung up and then just didn't move forward on it. Oh gosh, this one's like exactly like mine. I hadn't seen this one before.
And I know we're running out of time here, but before we end the podcast, I would like to ask you, what are like 3 biggest mistakes that you made that other sellers can learn from your experience?
So one of them I mentioned, I think early on focusing on getting a patent. I wouldn't have done that. One of the other mistakes that I made was, so when I first got my first shipment of wallets in, I went to a big baseball convention, got a table there with one of my friends, and he'd done a lot of sales. And so we go out there, and he asked me how many wallets I was bringing, and I think I brought 500 wallets. And he's like, all right, well, our goal is to sell 500 wallets. So first time I'm ever selling, first time I'm showing my products to customers and just kind of seeing like, what kind of response do I get from these? It's kind of my market research, if you will, but real time live market research. So we get out there, set up a booth. I have one product. I'm selling baseball wallets. I have one design of baseball wallets, and everyone else is selling baseball magazines and baseball cards and autographs and baseball artwork, and they've got tables full of stuff. I've got a table. I've got one product on it. And anyway, that first, it was a 3-day show. It was Friday night, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. Friday night, we don't sell anything, and I'm discouraged. I'm like, man, like I spent all this time and all this money on this business idea, and like it's a bust. 0 sales. Our goal is to sell 500, and we got 0. And the next day went better. I mean, we sold some, but I mean, they weren't jumping off the shelves, but we sold some. And anyway, there's a guy next to us. He's got a booth, and I don't remember what he was selling. He was selling something. And anyway, looking back, there were warning signs. Not the most trustworthy guy. Anyway, the last day he's there. He's drinking under the table. He's got some woman that's there running his booth with him who's not his wife, and I don't know what their relationship was. But anyway, so we strike up conversations. We become friends. He's trying to send customers over to us, and anyway, so he's got a shop where he sells baseball stuff. And so he's like, hey guys, it's like, I love your wallets. I'd love to sell some at my shop. And we just had a tough weekend, haven't sold a whole lot, kind of discouraged. Oh, here, finally, here's someone believes in us. My product's gonna actually sell. And so he's like, I'll love to take some of these, sell them at my shop, and I'll pay you for them after I sell them. And so all right, cool. How many do you want? Well, how many do you want to give me? So we give him 100 of my wallets. And anyway, long story short, he never pays me for them. And I should have got payment from him up front for him. We're selling them on consignment. I don't know. It was a tough weekend. He's become our friend. We trusted him anyway. So he ended up stealing 1,000 or 100 wallets from me, which
wow.
At the time I was selling for $30 a piece. So $3,000 worth of,
wow,
which was a lot for me,
Right.
So to compound this bad weekend, I trust the wrong person, and, just make a bad decision,
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Sometimes you jump to think that, so I get that a lot from people. They trust the wrong sources, that someone's going to help them. Eventually, if somebody promises you something, and always protect yourself, I think is really important lesson here, is that don't give people upfront inventory or trust someone to pay them money because they're going to get you sales. Let people prove to you first, I think, is a good lesson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he came on and he's flattering. "Oh, I love your products, and so as a startup entrepreneur, I'm like, after having a tough weekend, wow, somebody believes in me. Someone sees the value of what I'm doing. Like, this is really hopeful. Um, so that for sure. I'm trying to think, I put a couple other things down. I don't know what else I put in. I did. So this was one of the other ones. I referenced this to you. So I made that expensive cutting die. And I shipped that over to my manufacturers overseas, and they destroyed my cutting die. And not only did that cost me the price of a new cutting die, but that also meant that for, gosh, probably 6 months to a year, I didn't have any inventory because I had to get a new cutting die made. It broke my manufacturing line. And so I wasn't able to cut the leather to make more wallets. So
How did they break it?
they sent it back to me and it was all rusted out. And I think what they had done was I think they had sprayed some sort of corrosive solvent on it, and that had just caused the metal to rust. Because like I said, I'd had it and used it for several years with no problems. And I don't know what they did, but they rusted the thing out. And so I had to go back, make a new cutting die, get my manufacturing process up and running again. And so for 6 months to a year, I didn't have any inventory. So I lost sales for that whole time. Plus I was out the cost of buying a new tool. So I think that was something where maybe, I don't know if it was quite trusting the wrong people, but trusting someone to do something that wasn't really their specialty. And like I said, they came in with, we can do this for $100. And I was like, wait, the pros are telling me 2,000, you're telling me 100, And so I think I was trying to find the cheap, easy solution. And it ended up costing me a whole lot more time and money than if I would just, hey, I'm just going to stick with the pros that really do this well, because this is a key part of my business, and not trust someone overseas that's, a fraction of the cost is telling me that they can do something because they're looking for business. And, if it was something where it wasn't a key part of my business, hey, let's try this and see. But because I needed that and it went so badly, it really set me back, like I said, probably a year or so.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Well, hey, Michael, I appreciate you coming on the channel and sharing your story.